Good morning and welcome to Talking with Ag at the Iron County Fair. This morning we have Scott Stubbs, who is the Iron County Farm Bureau Federation County President. And we're just going to kind of go through what's really going on at the county level with the Federation and how much of an impact it's made in Iron County specifically, but what it has the ability to make when we're taking it further and deeper through the state. Good morning, Scott. How are you doing?
Good, McKenna. Thanks for having me.
Yes, of course. It's always an honor for you to come on, whether it's Wired Wednesday or, to the interviews, because what we talk about is so important, and it's making sure people get the right information out there. There's so many information sources to the different things going on in the world that making sure we're trying to get as true and accurate information out there as possible. That's what we can do and what we can, promote.
I appreciate the opportunities to do these kind of things because it provides an opportunity for people to see that somebody is out there working on their issues and willing to help. Often, though, we need them to bring the issues to us. So this gives us an avenue to realize that there is somebody advocating for agriculture out there.
Absolutely, and it goes to show that we can't know everything unless we start talking to one another.
Correct.
It's going to take a village, and it's always taken a village, and in the last 20 years, I feel like the village has shrunk, which is not a good thing.
Something we're running into right now is we all need to work together. There's lots of organization. Of course, we have the Farm Bureau. We have the conservation districts. We have UDAF.
The Public Lands Council?
We have the Public Lands Council, we have the wool growers, we have the cattlemen, and we all need to work together to ensure that we can provide a food source for this country.
Well, and as we priorly discussed with Troy Henry, agriculture in the state of Utah is one of the strongest in most of the states, right? We still produce a high volume of food, but it's a national security issue as well. Who wants to import all of our food when it's controlled by another country, and then who knows if that's a reliable food source for consumption?
Yes, that is concerning with our national security as we're getting closer and closer to a net importer. We've always been a net exporter of food, but it's getting closer, and so we need to realize how valuable our farm ground and our food production is.
Well, and with that, with Iron County, how much of our food is exported out of Iron County?
A big share of our livestock leave the county to go somewhere to be finished and then come back to us. And we do export hay to dairies. We don't have a lot of dairies in Iron County, but we got two pretty good dairies here that do consume a lot of the feed that we do grow, and they rely on us to have the feed to produce the milk.
So it's going back to that village mentality where we need each other to survive through this hardship.
Oh, definitely. Through
the difficulties in agriculture and the negative eye, I would say, that has been posed about agriculture in being the source of all the water shortages and all of these different things. We're trying to produce food for how many other people?
There has been a lot of discussion about the amount of water used on alfalfa, which done right, I don't think alfalfa is as guilty as people want to make it. But we have a lot of public land in Iron County and in the state of Utah. And so livestock use that public land, and not only do they mitigate fire risk, but they promote range health and everything. But all of those livestock rely on a little bit of good protein alfalfa to make them work. Without it, we cannot maintain our livestock.
Right, and then without the livestock, we wouldn't have any meat in the stores.
Correct.
The grocery stores, even locally, rely to some degree on our meat. There's a lot of local cut houses, that would process animals for your own freezer and different things. But it goes to show that Iron County specifically, we almost have a full circle, production. We grow the alfalfa to feed the cows to make sure the cows in our area stay in our freezers.
Correct. So Iron County is the third largest sheep producing county in Utah, 13th in the nation.
13th. I feel like it's lucky number 13. Tell us more about the
Lucky
sheep production.
13, yeah. So that just goes to show that Little Iron County is big on the protein market. You know.
Right. Well, and with the sheep, I mean, I've heard many wool producers, such as yourself maybe, that we could bury this nation in wool if we chose to.
Well, right now our numbers are down a little bit, but we're trying. I mean, wool is a very good product, you know, environmental friendly and long wearing, biodegradable. It's a good product out there, you know. It doesn't create a huge negative impact to the environment.
No.
In fact, livestock are very essential in carbon sequestration as they graze. Without that, the grass and stuff does not sequester the carbon, and that's a big topic right now.
Interesting. Tell us more.
Well, I told you what I knew.
No, I know that agriculture is a huge benefit to our grazelands, but I didn't know that they were almost required per se to make sure that our rangelands stay in the shape that they are.
So by grazing the grass, it takes the carbon in it, you know, and it traps it in the soil. And so we worry about all the carbon that's going into the air. Well, livestock are essential in that to help get rid of some of that out of the air.
Interesting.
It's part of the cycle, you know.
Right. So as the different things in Iron County specifically, how long have you been the Federation president for Iron County?
So I've been the president for 3 years almost right now.
And where have you seen it grow and become better, or where do you think we could improve as well?
So I think that Iron County, we've really worked hard, and we are involved in a lot of things that I don't think we used to be involved in. We've been invited to commission meetings, we've been invited to city council meetings, we've been involved in a lot of those kind of things that give us an opportunity. Water's been a big topic, and we've been in on those conversations. Have we got our own way? No, not necessarily, but we've at least been at the table trying to help figure out how to conserve and stretch our water further.
Well, and that's one thing that we've discussed priorly on, you know, Wired Wednesday and things, but with the water conservation efforts of ag people at large, whether you're a gardener or whether you're an alfalfa grower or, you know, a cattle producer or a sheep producer, you are good stewards of the water because you understand the fragility of it.
Correct.
Right? Where, you know, everybody wants to go to the lakes and wants to do this and wants to go boating. Most of the lakes and reservoirs were formed because of agriculture.
Yeah, you really, about every one of them is a reservoir to help our agriculture, and agriculture has built these projects, and they do own the water rights to them. But I think they do a good job taking care of that and getting the most out of it. They don't waste water.
No, and to the best degree possible, they don't waste water. They actually turn it into a material such as alfalfa, you know, and wheat and corn that goes back to feed us something that we eventually consume on our dinner table.
Yep. There was a time when I guess that they grew the potatoes, everything they ate right here locally. And as times have changed with the economics of it, it seems like we specialize more and more in one thing. But we need to keep agriculture alive, because if we could not import things back from across the country, most things we could survive with what we can produce right here in Iron County.
And in Iron County, you know, going back to the potato farmers and different things, I'm pretty sure even today there's a couple of potato farmers still. Mm-hmm. But the only thing that we don't grow or don't have in Iron County, I believe, is sugar and sugar beets. And, well, of coffee, of course.
I knew that'd be a big one to you.
Yes, definitely coffee. Well, and wine, but wine's in Washington County now, so we're safe there. But with the different things, you know, Utah as a whole, we're pretty self-sufficient. You know, there's only
Correct.
a couple of things that we don't grow, and mainly it's because of the altitude that we're at. We don't have the heat for citrus, But beyond that, we grow most of what we could consume as a state.
Well, and so if you know Utah history, you know that they can grow cotton in Washington County.
Yes.
And so I don't know whether they can clothe us all, but between wool and cotton, I believe we could come pretty close.
Oh, for sure. Those wool socks, aren't they just so warm?
Yeah.
Oh,
And the wool products now aren't itchy per se. Your shirts and stuff, they're soft, you kind of have to look twice to realize they are made out of wool.
well, and in fact, we have some wool products here for sale in the Iron County Ag Barn. But there's a treated wool that makes it softer, and then there's a raw wool for different types of, you have, just like you have different cottons and polyblends and different things, wool can be blended and wool can be treated or untreated for different uses and a higher usage rate, but that's, getting a little further into the weeds. Speaking of the weeds, with the Federation being a grassroots organization, with Iron County specifically, what policies has Iron County suggested to go to the state that have maybe gone to the legislative floor and been passed or been at least reviewed?
Well, so right now we're having an issue. We have a lot of private mountain ground here in Iron County, and the deer tags for one thing. We're working on that, to help these guys be better rewarded for growing the wildlife on their private land. I could run some last year and I can't think of them right now.
No, you're good. I think that there was the camera issue where not necessarily all hunters, but there was game cameras put on water sources that were for agriculture being either manipulated to be actually broke, right?
Yeah. And I think that due to the conversation, the Wildlife Board actually come up with the rules on the game cameras.
Right, they're not allowed to put game cameras.
It wasn't something that we had to push clear through, but we did start the conversation.
Right, and specifically in Iron County, because we have so much public land, that also means a lot of multiple use land. Mm-hmm. Between producers and recreators and hunters, everybody can be on the same acre at one time. And it's learning to respect those boundaries, not destroying the waterland for the cattle or the sheep, but also not necessarily taking all the depredation tags that you could on wildlife and then making sure trails are still fit to be, rode on to some degree.
That is something that I've just, in the last couple of weeks, been working on, is keeping our horse trails and our walking trails in the mountains open. You need to realize livestock men do help produce the water, develop the water is the word, on the public lands. And they also keep the roads and the trails open for public access. We believe that multiple use, we like campers. I mean, we're glad that they're able to access the same beautiful mountains that we have.
Right.
And we work hard to make sure the roads stay open, so therefore they can. So many of these things that they close down to preserve it, they just pretty much limit the public access.
Well, and without the public access, the public doesn't see what they're involved in. And it further removes them from the ag education that they need to make sure they understand where food still comes from, or fibers for clothing still come from, or why animals are still so important to making sure that our public lands do stay open. But it's because of, I'm going to say, the hoof traction, that seeds are then replanted. By God's good grace, we have rain every once in a while. Well,
when you
today.
when you don't graze grass, it eventually kind of gets to be a wolf plant, and then it dies out.
Right, because it's not being rejuvenated.
Is good, and the Farm Bureau has definitely put a lot into watershed.
Yes.
Projects. We're always talking about we need more watershed, and that also helps the flow of water. And here in Iron County, water is the limiting factor on growth and everything else. So if we can make more water, that's a good thing. In the state of Utah, only 6% of the water is diverted. So that
Only
means
6%.
only 6%. So that means that of what falls, it either evaporates, it's consumed by trees or whatever. And so when you've got a bunch of junk on the mountain drinking the water that's not producing anything good, and I don't mean that trees are bad, because we definitely need timber, but we are growing them at 200 trees per acre when 20 to 80 is a lot of trees.
Is sufficient.
And they cannot grow into a good saw tree. And so that we do need watershed projects to develop more forage for the wildlife and the livestock, and also allow the timber to grow into a good saw log.
And I would say almost that Mother Nature has its way of doing this, and so far humans have kind of restricted those different things that Mother Nature, or, the Lord Almighty, or whoever you want to say, the universe, because when we have the lightning strikes or the fires or the forest fires, houses weren't supposed to be in the middle of the forest, right?
Correct.
And so when we prevent wildfires from happening, then we're preventing the earth from rejuvenating itself through its own mitigation processes, and so now humans have had to step in and do its own mitigation. Correct.
So our predecessors, the Indians, they knew that they had to keep it burned off and cleaned up, and they started fires all the time. And now we've let pinyon juniper encroach to the point that they're sterilizing the soil. And when we have floods in Enoch and whatnot, if you look up on the hill, there is no grass between those trees, so it cannot hold the water. It's going to come off when you get a cloudburst right there.
Well, and any normal, I would say rational person could look out at any type of garden or their own backyard and watch the rain fall. If every flower that it touches, every tree that it drops down, it's slowly bringing it to the earth, right? It's going into the grass, it's going into those absorption rates so that our aquifers can get replenished.
Yeah. When it falls on bare ground, it doesn't go in the ground.
Well, bare ground, and then an evergreen that doesn't really have a leaf but more of a stem, it doesn't slow down anything. And so then you have this rush of water. And by no means am I a biologist or a scientist or a nothing. I am a backyard farmer who has just observed this through drinking coffee on my patio and watching it rain and being like, oh, well, that makes sense. But you really taking a step back to the simplicity of life and going through that and going through the different things, it really goes to show that the more you are informed or the more that you are aware of different things going on in the county, you can make better decisions for your family, for your community, like the small subdivision you live in, which affects the towns, which affects the counties. Mm-hmm. Scott, I appreciate you taking the forefront of this for Iron County with the Utah Farm Bureau Federation, because you are a person that is always willing to get into a conversation and to learn more and to create that synergy. You are such a pivotal person in this county. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for providing us the outlet to inform people that we are here, and you can contact me if you have any agriculture issue. I'm here, and I believe in ag.
Thank you so much, Scott. Appreciate you.
Thank you, McKenna.